It may be small, but the Mini has a big place in British automotive history. The car began rolling off the assembly lines in Birmingham in 1959 as the Austin 7 and the Morris Mini Minor. Just 6 years later, in 1965, designer Alec Issigonis personally handed over the keys to the owner of the millionth Mini. The car owed its success to its revolutionary concept. Christoph Bauer says compacts were a mess in the 1950s. There were two-stroke engines and four-stroke ones, engines in the front and back, front and rear-wheel drive. It was anything goes until the Mini came and revolutionized things. In the early 1950s, the ideal economy car still seemed a long way off. In France, the Citroën 2CV brought mobility to the masses with its two-cylinder air-cooled front engine and front-wheel drive. In Germany, the rear-wheel drive BMW 600 had a two-cylinder boxer engine in the back. Its front doubled as the front door. Since 1945, Volkswagen had been producing its robust Beetle, powered by a four-cylinder boxer engine in the trunk. And Renault gave its 4CV a water-cooled four-cylinder inline engine also mounted at the back. Then along came the Mini, a traversely mounted front engine with four cylinders and front-wheel drive. Squeezing the technology into a small space left lots of room for passengers. Our tester says the key was lightweight construction. With the Mini, everything really is Mini, even in here. Mini comfort, Mini standard features, and Mini seats. There's not even a door handle, just a pull here to open it. But all this slashes the car's weight. The Mini weighs barely 600 kilos, so Christoph says its 34 horsepower engine has more than enough pep. Austin claimed that, on average, the Mini accelerated 30% faster and used 10% less fuel than its competitors. It could go from 0 to 100 in 30 seconds and reach a top speed of 120 kilometers an hour. But those figures alone hardly explain how the Mini became the stuff of legend. Christoph says the car has that famous go-kart feel. This is due to its small wheels and low center of gravity, as well as the hydroelastic suspension, which keeps it from veering to the side on corners. So he says it's lots of fun driving the Mini on twisty roads. In the city, too, this agile little car can maneuver through the smallest of spaces. Although it's just 3 meters in length, the Mini can seat 4 adults. For such a small car, it's very spacious inside, Christoph says. But then he says the Mini was always a giant among small cars. Everything possible was done to save room for the interior. The four-cylinder engine is mounted transversely with the transmission in the sump, and the radiators at the left. But what Christoph likes best is the trunk. He says that while it doesn't offer much room for luggage, you can also put your suitcase here, on the tailgate. And to make sure you can still see it from behind, the license plate folds out, too. Christoph says this has been really well thought out, something he can't say about all British-built cars. The Mini is chock full of clever ideas. The door hinges and standing seams are located on the outside, thereby increasing interior space and cutting production costs. The car's tiny 10-inch wheels and correspondingly small wheel arches are space savers too. The sliding windows and the absence of a regular dashboard also mean more room for passengers. What they sacrifice in features is made up for by the increased cargo space and ample leg and headroom. Its four-cylinder engine with 848 centimeters of cubic capacity generates 25 kilowatts of power. That's enough to tool around the city or enjoy leisurely drives in the country. Almost 5.4 million Minis have been produced, making it the top-selling British car of all time. The car has fans around the globe, and as love is blind, they're willing to overlook the Mini's weaknesses. Christoph says he has a few complaints, like the heating and ventilation, which don't work at all. He says you really have to stomp on the brakes, and even then, they're not too responsive. The gearbox isn't terribly well synchronized either. And then there's the price. The Mini cost over 5,000 Deutschmarks in Germany, over 1,000 more than a VW Beetle. Today, a standard Austin Mini in good condition costs between 6,000 and 12,000 euros, but expect to fork over 3 times that much for a sporty Cooper version. But to experience the fascination of the Mini, an entry-level model will do. Christoph says legend has it that engineer Alec Issigonis came up with the idea during dinner and sketched out the design for the Mini on the tablecloth and napkins. What he created was essentially the blueprint for all modern compacts and remains the standard to this day. So he says the Mini is definitely a milestone in automotive history. The original Mini was produced for 41 years, from 1959 to the year 2000. And little wonder, this forerunner of the modern compact is a truly timeless car.